All right, let's hop in. So we're going to open our IDE, and the IDE we're going to look at our application. Let's see what we're going to build, what we built, then see how we built it. All right, so this is what we've built. It's a POS Daily Tracker. So what happens is that it allows a POS operator to add transactions here, and in the end, see what they've earned. For example, if someone comes to withdraw 5,000 naira, okay, if someone comes to withdraw 5,000 naira, we see that we've earned 150. That's how it is where I live. PS operators charge 150 naira for 5,000. If someone comes to withdraw 10,000, we see that that 10,000 gained them 300 naira. And so, just like that, the POS operator can just, any transaction that happens, they just open their phone, uh, 20,000, and that's just it. So, you get the gist of what we are trying to build. So, this is what could help solve this particular problem. So, let's just quickly see how we built it. Alright, so we're going with the easiest way to build stuff right now, and we're using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So if you follow me on my learner, you're going to see that you will see resources that will show you that HTML is like the backbone, the structure of any website. And then you will also see that if you want to design the website, make it look good, make it pop, you would have CSS, which is this. We're going to look at it. And if you have JavaScript, we're going to, if you want it to have a behavior, you would use JavaScript. All right, so let's start with HTML. Now you will notice some green stuff, all this green stuff here. You will notice that we have this POS Daily Tracker, and if you look at the site, you see POS Daily Tracker. But you will notice that this stuff here that's written here is not showing up here. So this is called a comment. So a comment just allows me to tell you stuff without it having to show up in the code. So you as well, when you're coding and you want to push your code, you can put a comment, but this comment is not going to show up on your code. It's just going to show up just for explanation. So in this case, this comment can help me remember what I was doing here. It can also help you remember in the future. And then if you are working with people, you want people to you want to tell someone, hey, don't touch this code, or this is why I did this. You could write anything in the comments. It's just a comment, right? So this is going to help. All right, so let's go into it now. I'm just going to go through the code, but this is the structure of a HTML file. This is how HTML file looks like. If you want to easily get this structure, you don't have to memorize the structure. If you want to easily get it, use any IDE. Visual Studio Code, I'm using Cursor right now. You could use any IDE, anti-gravity, and you would easily get it. So let me use this sample.html. Let me just create a new file, sample.html. Sorry, I did not put dot, I put a comma. So let me do .html. Alright, so we now have a sample.html. Just notice what I'm going to do. On my computer, I press Shift and 1. You're going to see it gives me an, what's it called? This, I think, semicolon. I don't know what this is, I've forgotten. But you tap on it. Once you just press enter, you have the whole boilerplate. So I call it boilerplate. So you have the whole boilerplate. You will notice something in this boilerplate. It has this doc-type HTML, which just lets your browser know that you're using the latest HTML5. Then everything happens with tags, right? Well, just subscribe to my learner. We're going to always be looking at this regularly. Tags. So we have an opening tag telling your browser that this is HTML. And so you see an opening HTML tag, a closing HTML tag. We have the head, opening tag, closing tag. Inside the head, you can add anything you want to do. And you want to add, if you want to put title, like you see title here, that works. If you want to do if you want to add style sheets, you want to bring in an external CSS. Don't worry if that seems confusing to you, no problem. We're going to be looking at this over and over again so you understand. And then we have our body where every stuff goes in. If you want to write any code in here to show up on the browser, you can write it here and it's going to show up. But that's not what we're here for. You can see the boilerplate. Let's go back to our POS tracker. So if you notice, our POS tracker has exactly the same format. So let's start with the head. You remember we've explained that Dr. HTML just let your browser know you're using HTML5. This is now the beginning of the document. You specify the language as an attribute here, and then we go in here and we can now see what's in the head. Let's start with the head. So far you've seen the basic HTML structure. It tells it to use UTF-8. That's for formatting. So English we're using here in Nigeria and across multiple countries we use UTF-8. For other countries, all the Arabic countries that they write Arabic websites, and so you notice they write left to right. They have their own encoding that's different. We also see viewports. Normally when you build a website, the way you build it is how it will display, whether you're using phone or you're using laptop, right? But you know that if you want to view a website on a phone, it has to adjust a bit because a phone screen is smaller than a laptop screen, right? But so for you to achieve this, you would add this meta name viewport, tell it that the width of the website should be the device width. That's what you're seeing here. Width of the website should be the device width. What that means is it's going to now be responsive. If you're viewing it on a mobile phone, you would see the way you adjust your mobile phone. I don't know if you've used Facebook on your browser on your phone before compared to laptop. If you see Facebook on laptop, you see it's big, expanded. If you see it on phone, it's still beautiful, but it fits to the phone size. And so this meta tag, that's what it does. Then the title is what will show up in the tab. This is also good for SEO so that Google will know what the name of your site is. So ours is POS Daily Tracker. So the next thing is now linking of external files. This is a complex topic. This is like CSS, and we'll look at it later on. But for now, all you need to know is that CSS allows you to make your site look better, right? And then we want to connect this CSS file. The CSS file is on its own right now. This HTML doesn't know about it, right? So for you to allow this HTML file, about the CSS file, you need to tell it, hey, there's a CSS file here, right? This is how we're telling you it's a CSS file. Then we're not telling you this is where the CSS file is. That is it. This is where the CSS file is. So he now knows where it is. And he now picks it up. So that is it. Alright, let's move over to the body since we're done with the head now. Don't worry, by the time we do this like 5 times, you'll get used to it. The next thing we've seen here is our HTML. Now, everything inside body is what shows up here. All this stuff here is inside the body. So let's look at it. The first thing we're looking at is main. Now, this explains what main is. So main just allows your browser and how do I put it? There are some people who use something called screen readers. Now, those screen readers, it checks for all these main for semantic tags. It checks for semantic tags. So it checks for main, it checks for aside, stuff like that, right? So it checks for all those things so that you can know how to read from the screen. So when we add stuff like main, we're making it easy for accessibility readers to find it. Alright, so the next thing is now the header. So we're letting the accessibility reader know that everything inside here is the main content. This is everything inside it, right? So it's the main thing now it has to focus on. So the header we're now putting H1. H1 is for header text. So as you can see, this text is big because the header text. Then we now have a subtitle which we are putting in the paragraph. P means paragraph. Alright. Good. Alright, so we're done with that. Now you might notice that there is now a divider between this header, because this is the header, and the rest. That divider is inside the CSS file. We're going to go to the CSS file and look at it in a second, but let's just look at the HTML for now. This is how the header was created. This is the style for the header. So it makes all the text center, as you can see. Now makes the margin at the bottom 30 pixels. So this margin between here and here between this line and this add transaction is 30 pixels. Then the border bottom, this which is that green line, right? That is now that how we describe it. So the line is 2 pixels solid, and this particular color, green color, right? So that's how we're seeing here. There are many different styles. You could make it dotted. There are many ways you could do this, right? And you notice it's dotted. Dotted is okay. But let's just use solid for now. All right, and then it also has a padding at the bottom of 15 pixels, right? So that is how we get that. So let's just return here. All right, and so we have add transaction. As you can see, that's the very next thing here, add transaction. So in this transaction, we now have a form. Now this form contains label. Label is just so that you can tell this is a label here, right? Amount withdrawn, that's the label. So you can tell what how do I put it? You tell what that field is for. If this was for name, the label will be enter your name. It was for our password, enter your password. You may see Facebook when you want to log in, enter your name, enter your password. That's stuff that tells you the label. Alright, so we now have the input field. Input field is how HTML collects information from someone. Like right now, I want the POS operator to tell me how much they've made that day, right? So to do the amount, I have to collect it. Let's say that 2,001 naira. That 1 naira is an error from this minimum, right? So if I probably make it 0, that would solve that problem. So I can easily just put 2,000 all right. Yeah. So this input field collects information, as you can see, and this input field has something called placeholder, because you will notice that before I start typing stuff, you see EG 5000. That EG 5000 is from this placeholder. But you notice another thing, required. Required means that if I try to submit it without filling it, it will tell me to fill it in, right? So required just means don't submit this unless the person has completed everything. Alright, then we notice ID. This ID will be helpful in JavaScript, which we're going to reach in a second, right? So let's move forward. We now have the button, which has a type of submit. So anytime you have a button that has a type of submit in a form, it triggers the submission of that form. Anytime you have type of submit, it triggers. So this button now, when you fill in stuff, it's submitting. Alright, so that is it for this section, which is add a transaction, this form here. So let's just go to the summary. Is the next thing we're looking at. So the summary just tells you by default it's 0, right? Right now it's not 0 because our JavaScript is the one that's now updating it in real time. That's the job of JavaScript, behavior and stuff like that. So it updates it in real time. Alright, it also shows how many transactions have been done. By default, in the beginning, it starts at 0, but looking at this, our JavaScript to change it as time goes on. We're going to come and look at it. Then our transaction list as well. It's empty in the beginning. As you can see, no transactions in the beginning. But as you can see this comment here, as transactions keep on entering, it keeps on going up. Alright, so what you need to know finally, because this is the final piece of code here, is that we put our JavaScript in the end so that it will load fast. Here is what happens. When JavaScript is loading, it takes a while, like it holds it for a second, right? So we want the page to load. The JavaScript can take its time and load later on, so we put it at the bottom so the JavaScript load last. Alright, so let's go to CSS. Now, if you can look at it, it's going to let you know we are trying to reset values so that margin, padding, this works with some browsers. Alright, and then we want to change the fonts to look like these fonts that we choose here, which is Arial and Sans Serif. Arial. Then if Arial cannot load, well, we load Sans Serif next. So Arial is what we want, but then we can load Sans Serif later on. If there's a particular font you want, what you could do is you could go to fonts. I'll say at the link fonts.google.com, and you're going to see all those fonts. You can choose any font you want and see how to integrate it. Personally, I like this font called Ubuntu. And so if you just tap on it, you'll see the fonts and you can see how to download it and how to use it. Or if you can just embed it, right? It's very easy. Copy the code, go to your HTML and put it there. Very, very easy. We'll look at this another day. Alright, then a container. So we are now putting that the width, maximum width to 500 pixels. For a phone, it won't reach up to this, but for a desktop, as you can see, the width we are limiting it to 500 pixels, so it stops at 500 pixels. Then with background color, don't worry, you're going to get the code, you're going to see the comment to be easy for you to understand. Alright, so this is just basic styling. So the JavaScript carries the heavy work. As you can see, I have documented how it works. I'm telling you that 5,000 naira, like I mentioned in my site, work is 150 naira. You can always change this in the JavaScript and it's going to work. Alright, so I remember I told you that ID is very important. I told you that every place that has ID, like total earnings ID, transaction count ID, all these other IDs, they are very important. So they're important because the JavaScript needs to access it, to manipulate it, just like DOM manipulation, document object model manipulation. So for us to be able to get whatever has been typed inside here, we need to read it. So we have this transaction form, for example, now, which is what we just typed our stuff into. So we now bring get element document.get element by ID, and we've gotten the value in that ID now. If you want to get the amount that was typed, document.get element by ID, the amount, you've gotten the amount. You've gotten the field, and if you do dot value later on, you get the amount. All of this same thing, transaction count elements, transaction list elements, empty message elements, all of those. So I would really love you to get this code, go through it, and on Saturday when we're doing our club, you ask any question you have, we go through the code again and you fully understand it. So if you want to calculate the charges, like I said, you can always change this on your own. If 150 is not what's happening in your area, let's say your POS operators take 300 naira, and just change it there, right? Very easy. All right, so that is it. That's how we're able to build our POS tracker. And so you can give your POS operator this, and they're going to use it to track how much they've earned. And that's it. Join me, subscribe, and I would really love it if you could join our club, our coding club. It's every Saturday. We spend like 2 hours. It's fun, play music, and then any question you have, just throw it in. If you want to code anything for you, we code together. You learn how to code. All right, so catch you later.